Everyone in that Los Angeles courtroom was stunned into silence when the defense attorney dropped a bombshell, shocking allegations that Christian Combs had targeted underage guests at so-called freak-offs. In an instant, the entire energy of the room shifted. You could feel the air tighten. Tension crackled like electricity. Photographers scrambled as Christian suddenly pushed back his chair, his face pale and expressionless. Without saying a word, no nod, no apology, he walked out, stormed right past his own legal team and disappeared through the courtroom doors. It wasn't just a dramatic exit. It was a calculated move. Because the moment that attorney hinted at the involvement of minors at those wild yacht parties, the case took a much darker turn. Christian's sudden departure wasn't about escaping the courtroom. It was about controlling a narrative that was spiraling fast and far beyond anything the press had reported before.
Yeah, I ain't hear about that raid. I only heard about the LA and Miami raid. But you feel like the feds, they released that video over King Combs' comments.
Oh man, I've worked in law enforcement for 27 years, and I had the opportunity to see HIDA. It's a place, whereas they have the state, the feds, the NYPD, the Department of Corrections, and the state police. Yo, this place could be half of a basketball court. That's where they just got lines of computers with officers of all different people and officers just on the internet. Whoever's over that case, whoever's working that case, don't you know they saw that and took it to their boss?
It was impossible not to look for you.
Me and my dog,
Now it was
me and my
possible.
son right here, firstborn.
Everyone wanted to be around.
His name is Bailey.
It exhausted them.
Look at him.
People just couldn't leave.
Who's
him
your daddy?
alone. Especially the girls. Christ.
You know.
Girls. It was embarrassing.
Sit.
Hard just to get him to call somebody. He like, it's too much work. Like, so happy birthday, Christian. Thank you everybody for coming and cheers.
So stuff.
27. 27.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
We don't got no job.
We don't got no job.
And we don't got nothing to do.
And we ain't got nothing to do. Cause we have to do that together.
To support the explosive claim, the attorney presented transcripts from secretly recorded audio clips. These recordings, captured by a producer in a makeshift studio aboard a yacht, feature a young woman named Grace Omar K. In the tapes, Grace is heard rejecting unwanted advances she says turned violent after she drank tequila she believes was spiked. Grace had been hired as a steward on a yacht chartered by Sean Diddy Combs in late December 2022. Expecting a quiet family trip where she'd serve food and drinks, she instead found herself in the middle of a wild, non-stop party. She described a constant flow of new guests, many of whom she suspected were sex workers, and drinks so strong that people reportedly collapsed after just one sip.
Now a son of embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been accused of sexual assault. A lawsuit filed in LA Superior Court on Thursday accuses Christian King Combs of sexually assaulting and possibly drugging a woman in December 2022. The woman says it happened while she was working on a yacht that Diddy had chartered. This comes just over a week after homes owned by Diddy were raided in LA and Miami as part of a federal human trafficking investigation. Neither the attorneys for Combs or Diddy have commented on the new legal complaint.
In a new lawsuit, Sean Diddy Combs' second son, Christian Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member working on a super yacht. That suit was filed here in Los Angeles. Attorneys representing former yacht stewardess Grace O'Markey say she was sexually assaulted on board a yacht when she was 25 years old in December of 2022 by Diddy's son, rapper Christian Combs. They say his dad, Sean Combs, leased the yacht and had full control of its staff and the premises. O'Markey's lawyers say Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. They stated, quote, defendant Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an environment of debauchery. There was always a party atmosphere filled with suspected sex workers, suspected laced alcohol, violence, and sheer disrespect of women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit also contains photos of bruises that O'Markey's lawyers say she suffered when Christian Combs violently grabbed her and attempted to force her to perform a sex act. They also included a transcript of an audio recording which they say captures Omarky being forced to consume suspected laced shots of tequila.
The seemingly carefree clip surfaced just days after a yacht steward filed a lawsuit against Christian Combs, accusing him of sexual assault during a December 2022 yacht trip.
The case has produced audio recordings that allegedly shows forcing himself upon her and that he wouldn't take no for an answer.
The woman says it all happened during what was supposed to be a wholesome family excursion with Christian and his father.
Check this out, y'all. This is Diddy. This is my son, King Combs.
I've been watching my pop since I was a kid.
And I'm proud of you, boy.
She says Diddy was the one chartering the yacht for the trip.
This lawsuit is bad for Diddy. He may be able to get out of it, but the optics are terrible when he's already facing a criminal investigation. This may be the nail in the coffin for him.
She says, according to her account, Christian boarded the yacht already heavily intoxicated, pressured her into taking tequila shots, and then groped her legs, chest, and worse, even attempting to force oral sex. She managed to fight him off and escape, but he allegedly tracked her down later in a makeshift sleeping area that had once been a movie theater. There, he blocked the door and assaulted her again, until someone finally intervened. The emotional aftermath, she says, was devastating, marked by panic attacks, suicidal thoughts, an eating disorder, and even seizures. Her lawsuit includes photos of bruises on her arm and audio recordings she says support her story. She ultimately filed suit against both Christian and Sean Diddy Combs, citing sexual assault, harassment, emotional distress, and premises liability.
But focusing on Christian Combs, Omarky says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure Omarky to take shots of tequila. She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio. Omarky alleges that Christian kissed her neck, kissed her face, as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas. Omarky reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." Omarky then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time, so this was a way for her to get out of the situation. She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." Omarky then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing."
Omarky says this is what happened next. She says she tried to go back to work, but Christian ends up finding her and wants her to find him a place to sleep for the night in the yacht. So she takes him to the cinema room of the yacht. And that is when she claims Christian stopped her from leaving, groped her, took off all of his clothes, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him. Now, she says she was allegedly able to fight him off. Someone walks into the room, and then she was able to leave. And she said when she reported this to the captain, according to her, the captain berates her. And she alleges that the captain may have even been paid off by Sean Combs to keep quiet about what happened. And I will tell you what's really interesting about this complaint, embedded in the complaint are photographs that purport to be Omarky's arms with bruises on them. And that is really interesting. You don't usually see that in a complaint like this. All right, so I want to bring on right now criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, friend of the show. He's represented some very high-profile defendants in high-profile cases. Good to see you once again. So I don't think we've had a chance to talk about this lawsuit. And now that the news is reporting that Christian has been served with papers here, why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because anytime that they have the opportunity to continue to remind the public of the malfeasance of Diddy, of Diddy's son, of anything related to sexually inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, it helps. It helps the government continue to, lay out the narrative of how bad Diddy was, how bad Diddy's son was. So I think it's consistent with, what they've been doing, putting it out there and really destroying his character. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything to deserve it. I'm saying it's consistent with what they're doing, whether it's the government or the lawyers that are suing him civilly.
In court, Grace's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, didn't waste time. He detailed the audio transcripts he told jurors about cocktails spiked with GHB and other date rape drugs. He hinted that more recordings existed, tapes he'd fight to play, and then he said something no one expected, that the Combs siblings had a history of assisting in taking part in these freak-offs with minors. His lawyer, Aaron Dyer, later called Blackburn's suit lewd and meritless, promising a motion to dismiss what he labeled manufactured lies, but all of these acts are well documented.
To Miss Omarkey, Jones taped this event with her. Yes, the lawsuit provides transcripts of audio recordings, and these audio recordings purportedly show, or you can hear, kissing sounds, her telling Combs not to touch her, her allegedly asking about whether she was drugged. Now, we haven't heard these tapes here on Law and Crime yet, but if they are what they purport to be, that is a huge piece of evidence. And remember, when we're talking a civil case, when we're talking lawsuits, the burden of proof is much lower than a criminal case. It's just preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not that this happened. So the civil suit accuses Christian of assault, battery, sexual assault, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're a big part of this lawsuit. She goes into the mental anguish that she has gone through, the emotional harm that she has suffered as a result of that. That's important in order to prove.
In his lengthy lawsuit, Lil Rod's straight name drops Justin Combs, describing him as someone who solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. There's actually a picture of Justin Combs with an allegedly underage girl shown in the lawsuit. Now, in this specific instance, Lil Rod alleges at least one underage girl came to Diddy's home for a listening party. A sex worker was also apparently solicited, and a freak-off ensued as an aside. This is the same night that Lil Rod alleges Diddy forced him to take a laced shot. He started to feel lightheaded and then woke up at 4:00 in the morning, naked next to a sex worker. It's important to note Justin Combs is listed as a defendant on this case because, according to Lil Rod, he facilitated Diddy's alleged RICO enterprise and at times participated.
If we're talking about additional charges and additional defendants, those are probably two of the more likely. And Christian, of course, was the subject of a civil lawsuit where there was a sexual assault allegation naming him directly. So I think if we're going to cast a bit of a wider net, people are talking about family members, other celebrities, maybe some employees like Christian Afora, but I think the most likely would be those two sons.
Why do you think it's the most likely about those two? Just because of the recordings, the allegations against him? What are you thinking?
I think so. I think obviously they're just civil allegations and those cases are going to be put on hold while the criminal case plays out. But, there is some smoke there. And obviously, there's a presumption of innocence and there's a lower standard in a civil case. But you have someone who's been named directly as someone who participated in a sexual assault. And everything else has been rumors and speculation, but here you at least have one verified complaint.
So what exactly were these freak-offs? Prosecutors say these weren't backyard barbecue parties. They were staged sex shows run by Diddy and backed up by his own kids. In the Manhattan indictment, freak-offs are described as meticulously planned performances where guests, even some underage, were forced into drug-fueled sexual acts while cameras rolled. The suit names both the Combs siblings as more than just bystanders. They allegedly helped recruit underage girls, handed out cash, loaded the locations with supplies, and even filmed the encounters alongside their father.
I believe it was Justin, Diddy, and G walked into the bathroom. Gunshots rang out. Little Rod woke up so scared. Justin and Diddy left. Little Rod went in the bathroom, saw G out all over the place, literally called the ambulance, carried him out. It was carnage and everything, put him in the ambulance. The police showed up. Little Rod cited that in his lawsuit, and then they asked for the LAPD's report. The LAPD just released an 18-page report with no mention of any carnage or anyone that actually got shot.
There's also allegations that he actually partook in these freak-offs and potentially drugged women. This is something Lil Rod is saying. How would the feds go about proving something like that? I know that's the pattern we've seen across a lot of these civil suits, that women allege Diddy, for instance, drugged them. But now Lil Rod's also pointing the finger at Justin Combs, saying he drugged some of these women. How would the feds then go to look further into that?
Yeah, Lil Rod's lawsuit is interesting in that there are many defendants. We talked about Christina Horam, right? Some of the allegations that came out in Lil Rod's lawsuit was Christina, of course, being Combs' right-hand woman. She allegedly had the fanny pack with the drugs that were provided to the sex workers. There are the allegations directly against Justin as well. So whenever you're proving something like this, obviously, you're going to rely on the testimony of witnesses. You know, it could be an independent witness because the sex workers, even though they're participants in a sex act, they won't necessarily be charged, or I don't think they're going to be defendants in the lawsuit if the allegation is that they were forced to perform these sex acts and it wasn't just a commercial transaction.
These charges cast a dark shadow over Christian's case. On September 16, 2024, a Manhattan grand jury indicted Diddy on serious charges, including racketeering, trafficking, and other related offenses. Prosecutors claim he manipulated women, some as young as 9, into participating in freak-offs with paid male sex workers. The indictment alleges Diddy used drugs to ensure compliance and filmed everything. Prosecutors argue his criminal empire extended to charges of arson, bribery, and kidnapping, but at its core, the allegations revolve around the sex acts that took place at these events.
I was at I believe to be one of P. Diddy's freak-offs.
Now, singer-songwriter Tania Wallace told TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Tubi special, The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs. She believes she witnessed underage victims at one of Diddy's 2018 parties.
I'm looking like, are those midgets? Because it's people over them, like it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I gonna get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people that's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Billy.
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise. And they said that this enterprise consisted of him as the alleged leader, his employees, assistants, staff, allegedly, that were able to procure women and alleged male sex workers to engage in performances for his own sexual gratification. Where it differs from a mob indictment, it has all the elements of putting together this racketeering allegation of all these moving pieces using resources from his businesses. But the fact that this is about an allegation of sexual gratification being accomplished by alleged human trafficking. It's one of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes.
First of all, he is not steering away from the idea of the freak-offs. They seem to be saying, these were called freak-offs, we're going to call them freak-offs, but they're not illegal.
Yeah.
But one of the charges he faces is transportation to engage in prostitution. If he's saying, I hired sex workers, but if he's transporting them and paying for them, I feel like it's going to be very, very difficult to argue he's not guilty of that charge. We talked last time about how he tried to get it dismissed from the case, basically saying it's a racist charge, but it's going in.
Yeah, so Diddy just walked into the courtroom like he normally does. He hugged all of his attorneys. He, dabbed up Mark Agnifilo. I think he was kind of searching in the gallery to see if he had family there, because when court had first started, nobody was there from his family. And I think he kind of looks forward, and I'm just speculating here, obviously I'm not in his mind, but I think he looks for people, especially his mom, to be inside that courtroom in the gallery. But today it was just Justin Combs all by himself. I think in the moment when he had first walked into the courtroom, it was a little bit after it had started, he kind of was like clearing his throat. I don't know if it was because he actually had to clear his throat, or if it was to get his father's attention, just to let him know that he is here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but Diddy did turn around a couple of times. I don't know if it was to see if more of his family came in, or to see, just to kind of like check in with Justin during that. But he seems to always kind of be more excited to see his family inside that.
In March 2025, Homeland Security agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York, seizing electronics, firearms, party records, and even a large amount of lubricant. During the Miami raid, Christian Combs was briefly detained for questioning, but no charges were pressed. He was handcuffed at his father's LA home during the operation, but ultimately walked away without any legal consequences. Diddy's team called the raids an ambush and insisted that both men would vigorously defend themselves against what they deemed meritless accusations. However, the optics were hard to ignore. A father under federal indictment and his son embroiled in a disturbing civil suit. Amid the chaos, Diddy broke his silence on social media, sharing photos of his 17-month-old daughter with the caption, "Happy Easter from Baby Love." At the same time, Christian, who was handcuffed and questioned during the LA raid, posted for the first time. In his message, he wrote, "Stop with the caps," a slang term for lies, followed by bad. Boy.
Side of this, Diddy is going to want to put up a front of an innocent person. And sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Right now, investigators are going through the evidence that they seized. What they're really looking for are videos of the alleged sexual abuse. If prosecutors have that information, we're talking about days or weeks before Diddy is charged. He may go to prison for the rest of his life.
Inside the home, federal agents can be seen using a drone to survey the scene. The video then shows Diddy's son Christian, with his hands raised, pressed against a wall before being handcuffed. Moments later, Justin Combs, Diddy's other son, appears with his hands on his head. Agents are seen leading him down a hallway. The footage concludes with another man being dragged out of the home and across the driveway by the agents. Photos taken afterwards show Christian and Justin Combs standing on the lawn outside the LA home, while agents continue their search inside. In response to the video, Justin Combs' mother released a statement condemning the federal agents' actions during the raid. Her statement reads, "The overzealous and overtly militarized force used against my sons, Justin and Christian, is deplorable. If these were the sons of a non-black celebrity, they would not have been handled with the same aggression. The attempt to humiliate and terrorize these innocent young black men is despicable."
Not surprised she posted it. She has to. They have to control the narrative, and do their best to control the narrative. And frankly, that's her right. If she has that data, that to do what she wants. I don't think it helped the situation. I don't think it helped her son or or Sean Diddy. I think it may have just you still have human beings you're dealing with on both sides of the table, and basically kind of amping this up. I don't think that solves anything for anybody. Also, it's a matter of, is the public going to be sympathetic to a billionaire and his problems and his issues? This isn't something that happened, in an unfortunate instance in a lower socioeconomic area of Los Angeles or New York or Cleveland. This is in Hollywood with a $50 million mansion with luxury cars out front. And dealing with a billionaire, and then they had another one in Miami. I don't think the American people or the public are like having a whole lot of sympathy for anybody.
Christian was building a career away from his father's shadow. His single "Can't Stop, Won't Stop" hit the R&B charts in 2022, and he launched a sneaker line called Younger Luxury. He showed real ambition, but now every headline pairs Christian Combs Amy's. With scandal, fans on social media flooded his posts, some defending him, others accusing him. A few demanded he address the rumors on camera. He stayed silent, stuck to his attorney's statements. But silence after a walkout speaks volumes to the court. Of public opinion?
Boy. I was upgraded from my last whore. Risha, Keisha, and Joy. And I ain't tripping if you didn't enjoy it.
Shut the mic.
I was locked 23 and 1.
And 1.
Now I ball like 23
and 1. And 1.
What's going on? Check under that shit and all that.
Right now he getting practice shots. He getting practice shots because we got the legend in the building.
Yeah, you already know what it is, man.
Christian Combs, King, the one and only.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get right into it though. Music, that's good.
Yeah, I got my new music, Legacy, dropping. It's about to be crazy.
When is dropping? Let us know some exclusive.
On the 15th, October 15th. Right. When you see this, it might be out.
Nah, you gonna see it tomorrow. He working hard. This dropping tomorrow.
And Cardi's dropping soon. It's gonna be a visual.
Yeah, but I keep it real. Ever since we've been in LA like 4 years, we've been running to you, like hearing that, see you grow, like from developing like artists to like just being cool. At first we met you, was like we just knew you was cool. Then you start dropping music. Like,
What role do you think it's possible Christian Combs could play in his father's criminal case?
The government loves superseding indictments. The government loves indicting your relatives. Why? Nothing is worse. Right now, Diddy's sitting in a jail cell. What could be worse? The thought of your son also sitting in a jail cell. So if they can prove it and they have him committing crimes and they can involve him in a superseding indictment, I don't see why they wouldn't. They do it all the time in narco cases and in other cases that I've worked on. And it seems to me like Diddy wasn't or never created these broad defined lines between his children and the alleged illegal acts that he was committing. So it's completely possible that they could get wrapped up in a superseding indictment.
Next up in Christian's civil battle is a motion to dismiss, Dyer argues. Grace's suit is full of holes. No metadata on the recordings, no logs proving minors were there, and no proof those tequila shots were spiked. If the judge sides with Dyer, Grace may never get her day in court. But if Blackburn convinces the judge there's enough evidence, the discovery could force both sides to turn over emails, guest lists, and yacht manifests, and force participants to testify under oath. That process could drag on for years, and Christian's courtroom exit moment will keep going, getting media and public scrutiny. Hey
guys, it's Murad Muradi, daily and consistent content. Let's get straight into this video. If Christian Combs isn't working with Diddy on the side when it comes to violating BOP rules and contacting the sons, if Christian Combs isn't working with Kanye West, who's doing all of these crash outs and going to his house, accepting gifts from Kanye, if Christian Combs not trying to jump Ray J or, trying to put up these happy birthday messages and dead reality TV shows, this man is also now officially being served for significant allegations of SA on a yacht that he was on.
In a statement to E.T. Diddy and Christian's attorney said, "This complaint is filled with manufactured lies and irrelevant facts," adding, "We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim." The new lawsuit comes as Diddy's former bodyguard, Gandil, spoke out on the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel, making new claims about Diddy's notoriously wild
drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, all kind of crazy. I don't think it's only celebrities going to be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there.
Across the country, the federal case against Diddy is barreling toward a May 5, 2025 trial in Manhattan. Jury selection looms. Prosecutors have already lined up at least 5 accusers, including Cassie Ventura, who settled her suit in 2023. They want to use propensity witnesses, victims who will testify about FreakOFFs and other misconduct to show Diddy's pattern. Christian's courtroom drama in LA may not be central in New York, but it fuels prosecutors' narrative of a family legacy, of abuse for Grace. The fight isn't over. She's seeking not just money, but recognition that powerful people broke the law. Her entire lawsuit against Christian Combs is a reminder that being a whistleblower can be dangerous.
A legal drama, once again facing Sean P. Diddy Combs, who's already the subject of a federal investigation. Just yesterday, Christian Combs, Diddy's 26-year-old son, was named in a new lawsuit alleging sexual assault by a woman working on a yacht in 2022. Sean Combs is being sued for premises liability as the person who chartered the yacht and for aiding and abetting his son in the alleged assault. Well, here's the deal. Right now, anything associated with P. Diddy is considered cancerous. He could be guilty of the allegations that have been levied against him. His son could be guilty of the allegations that have been levied against him. But the reality is that even if they're not guilty of such things, their name has been tainted severely. And usually something like this happens when you create enemies in the wrong places. Usually it's not just a byproduct of your act or your actions. There's something else that's going on here. But you've seen people get accused of things a lot of times. But the tsunami of things that are coming in the direction of P. Diddy and his family appears immense.
This saga throws up a million questions. Can Christian clear his name after that dramatic exit? Will he ever shake off the shadow of FreakOFFs? And if minors really were there, what does that say about the privilege that let these parties happen? If you've been following the story, Hit like and subscribe for every twist drop. Your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Christian's walkout proves guilt? Or does it just show a son defending his reputation either way? We'll be here digging through court records and sealed tapes until the final verdict. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next update.